welcome you here to the first show, Mike Stan Show. We are glad to have you out there with us today. I want to say hello to a very, very special guest. First, let me introduce myself. I am Mike Stan, the host of the show. And this is the Mike Stan Show, legalized nationwide. But I'm very happy to have all the way from down Mississippi, very good close friend of mine, but a great historian, a great great writer. This guy is just more knowledgeable than most of us could ever imagine. Banner James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
Man, I tell you, you really shocked me when you called me the other day, and we talked about this show, and you gave me a lot of great ideas for it and everything. You did a lot of research for me, but then you called me and said, hey, man, can you pick me up at the airport? I'm going to fly into Tennessee. I'd like to be there for your first show. I was really happy that you made it, and glad to have you here. And I'll tell you what, man, you deserve a big round of applause. Yes, indeed, man.
Too kind.
I believe it. And today we're going to be talking, man. This show is based on just why marijuana should be legalized in this country. And I tell you what, we have 29 states now that on a statewide, they've legalized it statewide. It's still not legal on through the federal government, but it's legal in 29 states. So that's a pretty damn good start, don't you think?
That's, if I do my math right, that's way more than half a majority.
Absolutely. So to all of you politicians out there that are against it, I only have one thing to say to you. Oh, yeah. Man, that made me feel better, too. And just for the sake of it, there you go. All right. Well, you know, we are activists of marijuana, and we do believe that, you know, marijuana should be legalized on a federal level. Now, you know, Mr. Banner, tell us a little bit about yourself, some of the work that you've done.
Well, Mike, I was a history professor in an institution of higher learning here in the Great South, and retired from that, and got into helping people ghostwrite historical narratives, nonfiction books. And that's how we met, actually, in Chicago at a Barnes and Noble bookstore, of all things. I was there with the author, so-called author. I actually wrote the book for him.
But now you actually enjoy just being a ghost. You don't really like the notoriety and the publicity, do you? You're all about more higher education, aren't you?
That's right. I'm an advocate of higher education. I believe the more educated you are, the more knowledgeable you are, the better life you're going to have.
Now tell us why you chose history, though.
Well, in the South here in Mississippi, you know, the tragedy of the American Civil War, which was one of the stupidest things that rich white people created, enslaving their fellow human beings. How stupid is that? You're too lazy to go out and hire people or work in your own cotton fields. Sickens me, but it's just... I got interested touring some of the battlefields, the brave men on both sides who fought. And I was a big fan of, growing up, my father only watched John Wayne or, you know, old black and white movies.
Yeah, mine too. I remember.
And I was just interested in the Great American West and Billy the Kid and stuff like that. That's how I got started.
So, you know...
the founding fathers, you know, that's where it all started.
So when we talk about history, you know, pot right now is under prohibition, of course. It has been for 80 plus years, if I'm not wrong. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, and if history teaches us anything, what does it teach us? That prohibition doesn't work.
Absolutely doesn't work. Remember, there was a Falstaff Act. I think it was passed in 1919.
Yeah, you're right.
Said Americans couldn't consume alcohol. And alcohol is actually a derivative of plants, but it's man-made. Marijuana is just a plant, like a tomato plant and any other plant. It flowers. It's actually a flower. You pick and dry the flowers and you smoke it or...
So are you telling me that someone that sells pot, they're not a drug dealer, right? They're a florist.
That's a good way to put it. I guess they are.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, because when you stop thinking about it, man, I mean, poison ivy grows out in my fucking backyard. It does a lot more damage to me than what marijuana does. So, but I haven't had the DEA knocking on my door saying, you got fucking poison ivy growing in your backyard. We're going to arrest your ass. I haven't heard that yet. But once again, man, it's really great having you here. And today's show is about politics of pot. Folks, we don't discuss anything else in politics except, legalizing marijuana because we got enough fucking Sean Hannity's and Tucker Carlson's and Laura Ingram's and Rachel Madcow and Chris Big Mouth Matthews and people like that out there doing enough political bashing. Well, we just want to do a little bashing on why we're not legalizing marijuana. Now, I know that there's pros and cons to everything that when we look at laws. Can you tell me, Mr. James here, can you tell me what are the cons on marijuana use?
Next question.
There you go. What are the pros? What are the pros?
Well, I suffer from migraine headaches because I do a lot of computer work. Everybody that sits at a computer, your back hurts, but it's intensive. And I smoke a nice strain of marijuana. I don't have a migraine for the next 2 weeks. What's wrong with that, Michael?
Nothing at all, man. Nothing at all. I think it's great, And now I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm 51. I've been smoking pot for 30 years, and I'm a recreational smoker. I mean, has it helped me in the past with certain? Hey, look, man, I have this thing called acid reflux, And do I eat Pepsid? Yeah, I eat the shit out of it. But you know something? When I smoke a joint, my heartburn, the acid reflux tends to go away. I don't suffer from migraine headaches. I will let my listening audience out there know I just recently went through a very small battle of colon cancer. That we caught it at a very, very early stage. I mean, it was barely even so. Got to it in time, but instead of all the chemotherapy, instead of it just tearing me the fuck apart and making me throw up 8 or 9 times a damn day, I smoked marijuana. And something, and I had very little side effects of the chemotherapy. So, I mean, I think me smoking marijuana 30 years, I can't say, I don't believe that's what caused my colon cancer. I think that came probably from my eating habits. I smoke cigarettes. I'm not going to sit here and bash fucking big tobacco, but I will tell you this. I noticed since I've gotten back to Tennessee that I smoke a pack and a half a day. When I was smoking marijuana, I might have smoked a half a pack a day. So it really took down my intake of tobacco, which I think probably helped me more than anything. You brought up a really valid point to me not too long ago when we were talking about this show, and people need to realize that our brain cells. Tell us a little bit about what happens through our aging process and what happens with our brain cells as we age.
Well, naturally, through age, if you're fortunate enough to reach the age of 60, 70, on in, with medicine the way it is now, even into your 80s, your body just naturally loses brain cells. It's just a part of aging. That's why Alzheimer's and dementia sets in. So the people that say that marijuana, oh my God, it's going to, say a young person in their 20s smoking on a regular basis, by the time they're 30, they're a raving lunatic or an imbecile. I don't believe that's true at all. So it's just a natural process of life. You get older, your brain diminishes somewhat, and marijuana doesn't speed that up anymore. It's just a part of it. And by the way, Mike, alcohol kills a lot of the brain cells in your frontal lobes. I don't know if it kills them, but it destroys them, or the DNA somehow kind of scatters them.
Are you against alcohol?
I'm not against anything. I'm against people that don't obey our laws. Violent crimes or rape or armed robbery.
So, do you think with the legalization of marijuana that we really need to start governing ourselves as pot smokers and let's keep the pot smoking at home?
Yeah, I don't advocate smoking a joint on your way to your job. I advocate doing your job, paying your taxes, obeying the laws, coming home bowing down, especially if you have a beautiful woman by your side, because that's when marijuana is really beautiful. You know, amen, brother.
I agree with you.
And marijuana smokers aren't bad Americans. most of them are peace-loving, law-abiding, hard-working citizens that just want to enjoy a fucking plant.
A fucking plant. That's it. And you know, I got to tell you, man. Even my girlfriend, my girlfriend, man. She lives in Chicago still. A great person. Love her to death. And you know, she says she doesn't smoke pot, but she says she loves it when I do. She goes, she knows she's in for a good night when I've gotten high. And you know, and medical marijuana is in Illinois, but one of the reasons why I didn't stay there is because they made you had to have stage 4 cancer to be able to even get fucking marijuana. You know, they didn't look at postpartum depression and things. It's you've got to be on, you know, on your deathbed before they're going to let you have it.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
I went to a few years back. Went to Arkansas and see a football game. Ole Miss was playing Arkansas. I believe it was in Fayetteville. I can't remember if it was in Fayetteville or Little Rock. But now I came back to see a friend of mine who's doing some research for a book, and I didn't know it, but Arkansas is legal. It's one of the legal states here in the Great South.
Yeah, well, medical. Yeah, it just recently happened, and that is. I didn't even know that until I got back to Tennessee. That actually happened. And the other thing too is
it's the first state, I believe, with Florida in the South. So that's real progress, right?
That's great progress. And when we look at, you know, when we talk about prohibition, you know, when alcohol was gone through prohibition, and you know you know how they call marijuana the gateway drug. You know, that's always it's the gateway drug. That's really the only fucking argument that they have. It's the gateway drug. Well, alcohol, the prohibition of alcohol, well, don't you consider that the gateway to mafia and organized crime in this country?
Started it all. Al Capone, Lucky Luciano. I mean, that was a disaster. But a great man changed that. His name was Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1933. He said, hey, let's have a drink, folks.
I understand he went to the guy and said, I'm going to make you a proposition that you can't forget. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the way it went, you know. I mean, and I agree with you, man. He said, let's have a fucking drink. And isn't it funny that even during Prohibition, no one else could have alcohol, but the White House always had a good spread of it, didn't they?
Yeah, when dignitaries came in from, you know, especially from Europe, they liked their wine and their bourbon and everything. But the rest of us, of course, the elite always gets away with whatever they want.
Right.
The rest of us have to do it so-called illegally.
Well, let's talk about the fucking elite for a minute, okay? And I've got one person in mind that I want to talk to because this whole show today, our first show is based on the politics of pot. And I want to talk about Mr. Jeff Sessions. And, you know, I don't like the guy, but I think, you know, Jeff, I know you were there during the launching of the Noah's Ark. And to me, you're a spaghetti Western politician, so this session is for you, Mr. Session. You know, Jeff Session, and this is documented. It's so well documented. That's unbelievable. His racist policies against marijuana is just so profound because he actually stated one time that he thought the KKK was okay until he found out they smoked pot. Now, my research on Jeff Sessions shows me one thing. He would have never even been a significant person in 1996 or 97, whichever one it was when he got elected in the great state of Alabama, that he had big tobacco that bought him into recognition. Jeff Sessions was really nobody. Okay, nobody. And then big tobacco, R.J. Reynolds, Philip Morris. R.J. Reynolds, he had to actually send campaign contributions back to them because they sent it too much to him. They wanted to give him as much as possible. And then he's also the one that came out and tried to put a ceiling on how much someone could sue the big tobacco for because he said that he called it extortion. And if we let them do extortion on our big tobacco, then they're going to choose something else. Well, you know, Mr. Sessions, first off, you're a fucking pussy. I just want to let you know you're a pussy, man. And you know, you're all about big tobacco. Big tobacco, you said you don't want marijuana in every corner store. Well, tobacco is. I'm a tobacco smoker. I smoke cigarettes. I love smoking cigarettes. I love having a cup of coffee and a cigarette in the morning. It's fucking fabulous to me. But you are so against marijuana, but it's okay that tobacco has killed 480,000 Americans a year on average. 480,000 a year. And then you got your money invested in fucking big pharma. And this is opioid addictions. Killing motherfuckers. Killed 56,000 people last year. And then you have private prison. You have your money invested in private prison. You hypocritical, non-politician thinking. You're not for the fucking people. You're for your own fucking pocket. And no, it doesn't bother me. I'm gonna call. I'm not gonna. You are what we call in the South